Shalom, brothers and sisters. Once again, it's Brother Tazadak. I wanted to talk to you very briefly about a few things that most of you are probably not aware of. Some of you very well may be, and if you are, then it's your responsibility to teach someone else like you knew. Once again, I'm not an attorney. I do not offer legal advice. If you need legal advice, please be advised. This is only for informational and entertainment purposes only. With that being said, shall I proceed? Now, I wanted to talk to you first about certificates. Certificates, avoid them. A certificate actually denotes, like, you don't own something that's a certificate. That's owned by someone else. The birth certificate, we've tapped on that many times. Your child's registered to the state because a mother was an informant. She informed the state that she had property for the state. When she signed the birth certificate, she signed the child over to the state. It's owned by the state. So it is with the marriage certificate. To get the marriage certificate, you got to go out and get a marriage license. A license is something that means that you've been granted a privilege, and you actually can't do it otherwise. So when you have a certificate of title, say on your vehicle, that doesn't mean that you own the vehicle. That certificate of title shows that the vehicle is actually owned by someone else. And if you doubt it, do the research. Look up the word certificate in Black Law's Dictionary. So if you have a certificate of title, your vehicle is owned by someone else. It's just actually in your presence, but it's owned by someone else, and they could come and take it whenever they so desire. Now, zip codes, avoid them by all costs. You want to avoid zip codes. Again, this is not legal advice. I'm saying I don't use them. I'm not going to use them anymore in letters, and I would advise you not to use them because, for instance, if you're sent something by the court and you mail it back in with a zip code on that letter, then they will use that zip code to you're actually consenting to the fact that you've actually just placed yourself under their jurisdiction, and you've actually became a slave to help repay the debt that she owes to England by way of that zip code. The zip code places you under their jurisdiction. So let me talk to you about a little more about zip codes. Now, there's a difference between a post office of the United States of America and the United States Postal Service. The United States Postal Service is a corporation. The Post Office of the United States of America is non-domestic. Non-domestic means that moves outside of D.C. and the possessions of its territories. Whereas this United States Postal Service falls under domestic, and domestic means the mail that moves between D.C. and the regions of the U.S. and the possessions of those territories of the U.S. Now, zip codes are never required. That is strictly voluntary. You just don't know your rights. Zip codes are never required. They're voluntary. They make you think that they're required, but they're not. And you should never use what you think that they're an abbreviation of a state. For example, capital N, capital Y. You should never use that on your mail or your return addresses or your letters at all. Capital N, capital Y, capital CA, capital NV, capital AZ. You think that's representing an abbreviation of the state, but you're wrong. It must never be used. You spell out the state completely or abbreviate it properly. For instance, if you're going to abbreviate California, abbreviate it properly. Capital C, lowercase a, L-I-F, dot. Nevada, capital N, lowercase N-E-V, period. And so on and so forth. Now, zip codes are required when you're using these federal regions, such as capital C-A, capital N, capital V, capital A, capital Z, capital N, capital Y. Now, you see the difference? I hope you're able to discern the difference without me actually writing it down here. I'm trying to just go through this, but not too fast so that you actually don't miss anything. Now, did you know that you could actually mail a letter anywhere in the world for 3 cents? I bet you didn't know that. And why don't you make that a project for yourself? Get a letter and mail it anywhere that you want it mailed for 3 cents. Put a 3 cents posters on it. But here's the catch. It has to be from sovereign to sovereign, and you must write everything out properly in proper English. What I mean by that, it's no abbreviation of states. Don't use all uppercase. It has to be written out in proper English with upper and lower case. So otherwise it's 37 cents. But if you write it, if you address it properly, write the return address properly, you can send that letter anywhere in the world for 3 cents. You write out the state completely, such as New York City, New York, or write the state out like California. Never use capital NY. Never use capital N, capital Y. Never use capital C, capital A. The mailing locations should be of that state should be written out fully. Now, when you fall under this just us system, this corporate system, you must use these jurisdictional, regional, or zones, such as capital M, capital Y, capital C, capital A, capital N, capital V, and so on and so forth. They're not abbreviations, but they're 2-digit designations of that federal fictional overlay, which is a counterfeit state. You think it represents the state, but it's a counterfeit state. It's a fiction. It's a corporation. In reality, it has no substance. It's a corporation. So, for those of you that want to use zip codes, if you use it, there's a way that some people use it, and you write it in brackets or put it in a box. In other words, you'll write 10025 in brackets or in a box, because that what is that suggesting is that whatever you put in a box or in brackets, that it actually disassociates it from the remainder of that document. Anything that you actually put in brackets, it excludes the rest of that document. It's excluded from the rest of that document. It's excluded from the remainder of that document. Now, this corporate de facto government utilize zip code system to actually prove that you reside in the federal district of Columbia. That's why the IRS and these other government agencies, federal, state, political, and the subdivisions thereof, exert jurisdiction by sending letters and notices with zip codes, saying that they're required because they claim that it speeds up the mail process. But that's their sly, subtle way of deceiving you. It's a form of deception. And it's evidence that you're subject to Congress and a citizen of the District of Columbia, who is a resident in one of the several states thereof. I bet you didn't know that. So you've been utterly deceived, brothers and sisters. The wool's being pulled right over your eyes, and you don't see a damn thing that's going on. Now, when you're dealing with the Post Office of the United States of America, patrons receive mail by general delivery or by general post. On the other hand, when you're dealing with this United States Postal Service, which is a corporation, since July the 1st, 1863, customers receive free delivery to any locations having an address or a P.O. box. Now, why is that? Because this is a corporate government benefit. Now, receiving the benefits admits that you have a contract with this corporate government. and there's usually an exchange or consideration or payment made for this benefit. Now, so what's the price paid for this benefit? Is the price the loss of your freedom, of your liberty? Now, is that price too high? You damn well better believe it. So, brothers and sisters, you need to wake up because you've been utterly deceived. Once again, my name is Tazadak. Shalom.